So I am not a fan of the 7904 power supply in the 120 volt mode. This is the power supply ripple, if you call it ripple. It's a voltage doubler, and I'm not a fan of using a voltage doubler when you're sucking 200 watts through one. This really comes down to your caps, is how that all works out. I have put in much larger, 4 times larger caps, and I've still got. This is a 10. This is a 10 times probe, so you have to multiply that by 10. So it's 200 millivolts per division. So that's about like 1.4 volts of ripple, if you call that ripple, across the power supply rail, which is 350 volts. So yeah, okay, that's not all that much, but for 8,000 microfarads worth of caps across 300 volts, I would have expected a lot less of this. So the other problem is the voltage regulation is also an issue. So you can see I'm using that big giant bridge rectifier, 1000 volt, 50 amp rated rectifier. That's a separate subject. But so and that bobbing up and down is my power line variations. So those are the variations in the power line causing that. I've got it hooked up to a variac, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this variac this much. I'm going to move it that much. So that's probably like a volt. And we're going to see what happens. So over on the scope, I'm going to move it same amount. You can see it move around, of course. But if you look at the meter, it's much more interesting because moving it that same amount is really quite a bit of change in voltage. So I'm just not a fan of this kind of using a voltage doubler in a power application. I just don't think that's a really good way to do it. In 240 mode, so you put the scope in 240 volt input mode, then it just has a normal bridge rectifier and supplies that to the caps. So I'm actually I'm thinking about using a step-up transformer. We'll see, but this is I would prefer to actually use probably twice or maybe even 3 times more cap than I put in there. So yeah, I'm not a particular fan of this. I'm using the 222 because it's isolated, so I can make these kinds of measurements on power line connected stuff. Anyway, so yeah, I'm not a fan of a voltage doubler for power applications. I'm just not.